Hi, everybody. I'm Justin Cohn. I'm a sports, multimedia journalist with the Fort Wayne Journal Gazette. I want to discuss, I think, a little more video multimedia theory. Now, it's obviously inevitable. It hasn't happened to you yet, and it certainly will. Your boss is going to walk in, give you one of these bad boys, one of these little flip cams or something similar, and say, all right, get to it. You're now a multimedia journalist, like it or not. And that's kind of what we are now. We're all do-everything multitaskers, I guess. And if you're not yet, you will be soon, just about guaranteed. So your boss walks in and says, okay, I want you to do everything. You're probably going to be asking yourself two questions. Can I do this? Can I be a multimedia guy? And should I be a multimedia reporter? Now to me, the answers to these are yes and yes. Now, if your newsroom is anything like mine, I'm sure you have a lot of people that moan and groan, wax poetically about the the good old days when we just had a typewriter and a phone and a recorder maybe, and we would go about our business. But if we want to stay relevant as journalists, we kind of have to do a little bit more than that now. On the other side of the spectrum to me, I'm sure we've all come across the boss or the editor who says, I heard about this new thing and we're going to do it. I don't exactly know what it is yet, but you're going to do it. Could be Tumblr. Look, we just did a story about Tumblr, and we're going to start tumbling, so go get your tumblers ready, and you're going to tumble. Now, where I worked, this was kind of like blogging. 2004, a couple of us got called in and said, we're going to blog. We don't really know what a blog is. We don't know how you do a blog. We don't know how to copy edit a blog, but darn it, we're going to do it. And then that became Twitter, and that became audio, and that became video. So for me, the same thing holds true with video these days too. So you need to be progressive and stay ahead of the curve and take advantage of all the technological innovations, but you also have to make sure that you know what you're doing before you dive into the deep end. But I want to encourage everybody, and you can encourage the people that you work with, that you really do need to embrace all the innovations. I'm sure we all know the guy who says, I'm not gonna use Twitter. I'm morally opposed to Twitter. I know several of these people. And to me, that's kind of doing a disservice because it's a resource. And you're gonna be able to get information that way, you're gonna be able to disseminate information that way. And when everything comes along, we all need to use it. And to me, that's the same with video. So yes, you can do this, and yes, you should be doing this. And while I'm going to be showing you some video clips that are sports related, I think these things apply to whatever department you're working in. When we started doing blogs, when we started doing tweets, when we started doing video, everybody kind of had the same complaint, which was, I don't have time for this, right? I mean, I gotta do my 3 print stories a week, or I gotta do my 10 print stories a week. I don't have time to do blogging. I took the opposite approach when we started blogging, and the same when we started doing video, which is, I had all this crap that was sitting there that I wasn't using. I'd go out to the hockey team's practice, that's primarily what I cover is hockey, and I had all this stuff that I was never using. I was throwing it away. Off-color stuff, or a guy that happened to have a minor injury, or the bus was on fire going from Fort Wayne to Kalamazoo, stuff that was not fit for print. And I just had mountains of stuff that I could blog. And pretty soon I started blogging all kinds of stuff all day and carved this nice little niche. And it wasn't just in my territory, it was throughout the country, because there were other hockey towns and they wanted that sort of information, and they started coming to me. And so what I found was that the people who were not doing the same, they got left behind. And then we tried to kind of stay ahead of the curve with the hockey coverage, with other things, Twitter and then video. So just to give you some perspective, my hockey blog has been extremely highly read. I would say it's probably one of the most well-read blogs in the entire state, regardless of what subject matter. In the last year, there have been almost 100% increase in the number of people going to it. And the only thing that I've been doing different in the last year is video. So, I mean, we're talking a lot more people who are just coming for one thing, and that was video. And the other thing that they're doing is they're spending a lot more time on the site. Now, if they're spending more time on the site, then your advertisers are happy. If your advertisers are happy, then your bosses are happy. If your bosses are happy, you're happy, right? So keep an open mind when somebody says, look, I'm going to give you this flip cam, and I want you to go out and do some stuff, because it may end up being in your best interest whether you like it or not. All right, equipment. So one of the two things is going to happen. You're going to get this little flip cam, and you're either going to say, I have no idea how this thing works, and I don't want to know how this thing works. I just want my trusty old laptop and move on. Or you'll have the opposite view, which is, if you're going to give me a video camera, why don't you give me a real nice video camera, like I see all these TV reporters walk around. All right, I've seen both, and I had both thoughts to it in my career. First of all, you need to kind of get over the TV thing, because you need to remember they're doing something completely different. Yeah, they're going to have all kinds of great equipment, they're going to have great sound, they're going to have great video, but you are going to be able to bring a lot of different things to the table that they are not. You know, you're going to have the time at a lot of events that they may not be able to have if they're, you know, dropping in for a 30-second soundbite at a press conference. You're going to perhaps have the knowledge of the subject matter that they don't have, which is certainly the case with me. And equipment is secondary to me. All of this is going to be supplemental, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing is, you should be comfortable, though, with what you're using. I mean, they may give you a flip cam, and you may carry an iPhone, and you may say, look, I'm a little more comfortable with this, I shoot video on this all the time, and go with it. I mean, fight for it. You know, use what works, because you just want to get good video, you want to get good content to go with what you're doing. And, you know, frankly, regardless of where you work, you're probably going to be using equipment that you can always do better with the equipment. So you just need to get over complaining about what you have and just kind of get on to recording and what you can do with it. One thing that I did, though, I will say, is I looked around the office. I went to the photographers, and they had a bunch of stuff that they were not using because it didn't fit their needs. And the big one is this DSLR camera that I use. Now, they didn't want it for still photography, so it was sitting in a drawer. And so I said, well, give it to me, because I can take video on that, and it'll be better than the video that I'm taking on the flip. And then I actually don't use the flip, I call it a flip, but it's close to it. It's a Kodak, and this thing takes great videos, and it had been sitting in a drawer for like 4 years unused. So there might be something around there that you don't even know about, that you may be more comfortable with. I've had people where I work that traded equipment because they liked somebody else's better. So just keep an open mind and look around for stuff, because there may be something that's better. All right. The biggest thing I want to drive home is if and when you start doing video, think of it as supplemental to what you're doing. Think of it as amplifying what you're doing. I'm a big movie buff, so I kind of use the analogy of 3D movies. Just because you can do 3D doesn't mean you should be doing 3D. I don't know if anybody saw when they remade Clash of the Titans, and they put on 3D because everybody was doing that, and it was nonsensical, it was terrible, and I want my money back for the 3D portion of it. So I think that sometimes as journalists, we get the idea that, okay, let's just do video with it, just because everybody's doing video with it. Make sure that what you're doing makes sense. Make sure that it's amplifying what you're already doing. Like Avatar, decent story, but when they added 3D to it, it took it to a whole other level. So when I do a story and I'm adding video elements to it, I want to make sure it's getting better. I'll explain why. When we started doing video, I knew somebody who, he took the video camera in deference to your school board meeting, I think it was. He took the video, he's doing a basketball game, he puts it on a tripod, turns the video camera on, and just leaves. And then turns in this video that was 40 minutes of people just running back and forth and back and forth. I mean, it was awful, and I think that we almost used it. I think somebody had to finally step in, because he was just trying to do the bare minimum. And his boss said, look, I do video, and he said, rolled his eyes and said, okay, I'll do video. And that does nothing for anybody. But on the flip side, you also don't want to just get like 10 seconds of something that is already going to be in your written story and added to it, because that doesn't add anything either. You don't want to be lazy with it. But there are ways to do it where it's going to add very little time to what you're already doing. There are two really common mistakes that I see people do when they're doing video. Like I said, first they'll do the bare minimum. I've seen a video, a reporter covers a team, and all he does is he gets the coach of the team after every game, and he does his entire press conference, game after game after game, droning out. Nobody's going to watch that. And nobody wants to sift through your 10 or 15 minutes of junk looking for the one really good soundbite. So you want to mix it up, and you want to give the viewer the good stuff. But like I said, you also don't want really short clips too. You want something that's going to be worth their time to look at. The other big thing I see a lot is redundancy. If you write a story and there are 3 quotes in it, and then you have an accompanying video, don't use the same 3 quotes in the video. Do something different. Otherwise, they're just watching something that they've already read, and they're probably not going to come back and watch what you can again. So do something that's not in your story, make it a side element, make it something worth their time. Now, I do hockey, like I said, so for me, that's been game action. Now, I don't expect anybody to do much of what I'm doing, which is spending the entire game shooting while I'm blogging, writing, and all this other stuff. But for me, what I realized was I'm there the entire game. I'm competing with the TV networks who are dropping in for maybe a period. So the advantage I have on them is time. I can be there the whole game, I can try and get all the big moments. It won't always look great. This one, I was heading to the locker room because the game was almost over, and I sensed that a brawl was coming, and I just got out there. But I'm the only one with the video of this. And to the point that not only was this watched by my readers, it's watched by fans in other cities, it's watched by the league, because they're trying to figure out who to suspend from this thing, because I'm the only one with video of it. So remember what advantages you have on the other people. My videos tend to be very long. Mine are usually 3.5 minutes. But that's what my readership loves. I mean, they're rapid. So the more they can get, the better. I would say typically a minute, depending on what you're doing. But you just kind of mess around with it. This was a college soccer game. Again, all the TV stations were gone. The game goes into a shootout. It's Indiana. So I get down to the field, pull out a flip cam, got as close as I could, and I had the best video of the ending of it. And I mean, this got watched by a ton of people. It's all got youth soccer fans everywhere. There were all these fans from Mexico because it was the Chivas playing. So now this, I was in the press box and I'm shooting with the DSLR. I figure the game's over. I go down and I just sensed that something was going to happen. So I pull out my iPhone and I just start shooting. I mean, this is not going to win any Pulitzers, not going to win any Oscars. But what happened was there was all this controversy at the end. You see there's players running on and off the field. There's way too many people on the field. Flags ensued. Long story short, undefeated team lost. There were all these appeals. Went to the HSPA. I'm the only one with video of this because I'm sitting on the sideline and I just happen to pull out my cell phone. Okay, I mean, the coaches from around the state are grabbing it. So this took like an extra 5 minutes on my day. I mean, seriously, I took this, I just sent it to myself, and I uploaded it. It was nothing. The last thing I want to make is, I think that Editors a lot will tell you, keep yourself out of the story, right? Never make yourself part of the story. I don't personally agree with that, but if you're doing video, to me that is the one place where you can really take a chance with different things that you do. And you can consider making yourself part of the story. If you were getting a job for a day at a toll booth, something I've done by the way for a story, imagine the video you could add to that, okay, if you talk people into it. So the last thing I want to show you is, I cover a hockey team, and last year I'm on the road and I'm going 16 flights in 3 weeks or something like that, and I'm tweeting, blogging, and everybody's sort of traveling with me. So I decided I was going to do a preview of the next series from an airport. This is me waiting for a flight. Okay, it doesn't look great, but people got a kick out of it. So in this, I picked the team I cover to lose. I picked Wichita to win in 6. Wichita in 6. That's it. This video got watched a ton. Okay, so of course the team I cover wins in 5 games. So I was smart enough to realize that when I walk into the locker room, I better have a video camera on, right? So let me turn the volume for this one. And this is just an example of make sure that you're thinking ahead, because you never know what you're going to catch. Now this isn't going to win any award for cinematography.
What do you want to say about my... I just want to say one thing. Wichita 6, Cohn you! I'm just kidding. I love Coney. I give him a hard time, but he calls it out. He sees it. I respect it.
This is for the local TV station. This is the most watched video in the history of our newspaper. This got picked up by Yahoo Sports because they thought it was a riot. And I mean, we're talking it got loaded like 85,000 times or something like that. So, like I said, it's not going to win any awards, but the idea is to think outside the box, embrace these possibilities that you have, and just go with it. That's all I got.